everybody. Welcome to the American Judo System Live Judo Seminar. We're excited to have you all here. This is Travis Stevens, Pedro, and all of the rest of everybody. I just wanted to check to make sure that you guys can hear the audio on your end. I think you guys can give a thumbs up maybe on the chat. If any of you have any specific questions that you would like answered during this session, feel free to put that in the chat. We'll try to read it and if it is a very urgent question, make sure you post it a couple of times. So I welcome everybody to this live judo session. And again, I want to thank you guys for joining. Give us a minute for the technical difficulties. Try now. How is the audio now? Still a sound. Check. Hello everyone, can you hear me now? We've switched to a different microphone. Give me a thumbs up or let me know if you can hear the mic now. Check, check, 1, 2, 3, check. Much better, nice. All right, Travis, you saved the day. I cut my gi open. We've got a microphone on the side here. I want to welcome everybody to the session. This is American Judo System. Thank you guys for joining us. This is with Travis Stevens and myself. We're doing this to help the judo community, to help everybody get better and work remotely here during COVID. So we're excited to have you guys on. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. We're going to teach for a period of time, and then we'll come back and answer any questions that you might have. And then after that, we'll turn it over to Travis to do some teaching, and you can ask him some questions as well. But we're excited that you've chosen to join us. We're excited to work with you. Hello from France. Hello, Austria. Thanks for joining us, Ireland. We appreciate it. So the lesson for today, okay, what we're going to cover today, our goal is to start getting you thinking about your judo. I get asked all the time from my students and from people, hey, Sensei, should I try this throw or should I start working on this throw? And my answer is always, it depends. Does it go with your judo, yes or no, right? So one of the things that concept that I want to introduce you all to today to get you start thinking about your judo, to start developing properly, is to understand that judo has quadrants, right? So my partner here, Tyler, everybody's going to have a different formula for success, okay? So if I'm a player who holds sleeve and lapel grip, okay, and my main technique happens to be Tai-Otoshi, for example, okay? I have Tai-Otoshi, which allows me to throw my opponent or my partner in this direction, okay? But judo has 4 quadrants, right? Meaning I've got to have a throw that goes in that direction. I have to have a throw that goes in that direction. My Tai-Otoshi goes this direction. And I also have to be able to throw my partner in the other direction, right? Those are the sort of 4 quadrants. And so as we're starting to think about our judo and starting to develop our judo, we've got to make sure that we have techniques that go in all of those directions so that I keep this partner or this opponent honest. Meaning, here's my tile. If all I can do is Tai-Otoshi and he sits on my tile really hard, I'm never going to be able to throw him with Tai-Otoshi, right? So I want to make sure that from my Tai-Otoshi grip here, that I have attacks that also go in this direction. So I need to start thinking, what's a technique that goes with Tai-Otoshi where I don't have to change my grip, okay, but I can throw my opponent that way. So one option might be Neo Sotogari, right? So I come in my Neo Soto, boom, oh. And that's an attack that goes in that direction. So now I have Tai-Otoshi going forward. I have Neo Sotogari going in that direction, okay? And those, if I don't have a Neo Soto, or I don't have a throw that goes in that direction, then as I'm starting to practice my judo, I need to start doing my uchikomis. I need to start working on that throw. I need to start getting better every day, okay? And the way I do that is to add to my judo, okay? So in this direction, it would be Neo Sotogari. What might be a throw that I would do in this direction, okay, that goes with my Tai-Otoshi? Well, that might be an Ochigari. Right? So I might be able to do my Ochigari, which throws my opponent in the back rear direction. And again, that's a throw. I haven't changed my grip, so now I have Taio, I have Osoto, and then I have Ochigari in that direction. So the only other direction I need to go to is that corner over there. And that potentially may be a Sode. Right? Same grip, no change of grip. And that allows me to throw my opponent that way. So now I've got a major technique, and I mean a major technique that's something that I can score with that goes in every direction. That complements my judo nicely, right? So, and these are the techniques that I should be working on in practice, right? One of the problems that most people run into is that they can only do certain throws from certain grips, meaning, you know, from this grip, now I can do my backwards throw. But in order to throw them with my Seiyonage, I have to have this grip. And then in order to throw them this direction, I have to have one hand on the gi. So they cannot do a throw in all directions using the same grip. And I think that's very important as we start to develop our students, as we start to train ourselves, okay? And even if you're a little kid or you're an older person and you're just starting judo, it's important to understand the game because it is a chess match, right? And what I want to be able to do when I'm doing judo is I want to be able to disguise one technique and throw him with another, or use one technique to set up the other, right? So if I have techniques that complement one another, then this gives me the ability to outguess my opponent. My opponent can't sit on any specific technique. And then it also allows me to put my techniques together, like I said. So maybe I do Ochi into my Neo Sotogari, right? Or I do my Ochi into my Taiotoshi. Or I do my Ochi into my Sode, which allows me to go. So it's important that as students or as instructors that we're working with our partners to develop our judo and to start thinking about our judo cerebrally, okay? Meaning when the student asks or you're starting to think about like what technique should I start to work on, my suggestion to you would be focus on the 4 quadrants of judo. Think about techniques, think about what your main technique is, and then think about what techniques go with that major technique that's going to help you develop your judo and gives you the ability to throw in all 4 directions. Okay, so that's the concept I want you to think about. So maybe you're at home, you're not at a dojo, you're sitting down behind your computer, you've got a notebook. I want you to start thinking about your judo and start with your main technique. What is it that you do? And from there, I want you to start thinking about what techniques you do that complement that, where you can throw your opponent in all different directions without ever changing your grip. Okay, so that's kind of the concept that I want to introduce to you today. And, you know, if we think about it, I'll give you one more, go through one more scenario. Let's pretend I was a really tall judo player, right? And so my opponent's shorter, I'm really tall. Maybe my big throw, you know, is Uchimata. You know, when I'm starting to develop my Uchimata, it's important, that goes in this direction. What are the techniques that go with Uchimata that would allow me to set up my Uchimata, but also can I throw my opponent from this grip in all the directions, right? And when you think about it, it's got to be without a change of grip, and it has to be a threat to score. It cannot just be a setup. It cannot just be a half-hearted attack. If I really want to blast this guy Uchimata, well, I've got to keep him honest, and maybe I've got to set him up with some sort of kosoto or go behind technique, right? Where I bait him with Uchimata, and then I get to come back with my kosoto. Okay, so that's a good technique that goes in that direction. Obviously, we talked about Osoto going there, or perhaps it's an Ochigari where it's a running Ochigari, right? Where I come in Ochigari and I run them over that direction. So that could be one option for me that goes over there, right? Which sets him up to throw him in that direction. And then if I wanted to throw him over here, it might be a big sasai, right? That's a great technique. Somebody that does Uchimata, somebody that does an Osoto, then you might do a big sasai and be able to score with a sasai going the opposite direction. So those are 4 techniques that go together, right? We've got Uchimata, we've got a nice Ochigari, a hopping Ochigari. We've got a nice switch technique, which takes them to that corner. And then we've got a big sasai, which would go in the opposite direction. And if you think about it, all of those techniques, not only do they go together and work well, but they also set up my other techniques, right? I might turn that Ochigari then into an Uchimata, right? Or I might turn that Ochigari into an Osoto that goes in that direction. So all the techniques that you're thinking about or that you're hoping to do, they need to work well together in combination as well as work separately so that you can be a threat to score and throw your opponent at any time during any judo match, any randori,
etc. Do you know what I mean? So that's the concept I want you to start thinking about. And as you start to, go to judo practice, the goal is to get better. It's not how hard you work, it's how smart you work. Okay? I remember as a young kid talking to my dad, who was my coach, and I would tell him, Dad, I did 15 rounds of Randori, I'm exhausted, I beat up my body in training today. And he would say, great, son, that's wonderful, but what did you work on in practice? What techniques did you develop? What did you, in order to get better and go to the next level, you've got to constantly be developing your judo and improvising and learning new techniques and evolving. And I think that's the lesson, is to continue to try to evolve as judo players, to start thinking about our judo and to start training with a purpose, right? And training with a purpose ultimately comes down to going into practice with a focus of what you're going to work on today. Right? So we go to the dojo, and maybe I'm learning a new technique to go with my taotoshi. Maybe it is actually an Ochigari, right? But in order to really develop a good Ochigari, I've got to start first fundamentally working on the mechanics of Ochigari, the setup of Ochigari, all of the ways to do the throw. Then I've got to work on doing lots of uchikomi of Ochigari. And then I've got to work on nagekomi or Ochigari, and I actually have to force it as much as I can during my training, meaning it has to be a focus of the week, of the month, until I start to develop and get better at the throw. So that's sort of the things that I wanted to introduce to you as a concept today, so that you can start thinking about your judo. Now I'm going to roll it over to any questions that I see on the screen, and I will start to pick off a few here and there. Travis, you got one for me? What should a yellow belt think about when doing Randori with black belts and a light to learn as much as possible? Listen, in order to get better at judo, you have to fail. You have to try. So regardless of what color belt you are or what color belt your opponent is, your partner is, the idea is to try to attack as much as possible if you're doing Randori. There's no sense going into practice and not attacking. If you're not attacking, you're not learning. Right? Even if you get countered, even if you get thrown, it doesn't matter. Right? It ultimately, if you fail 10 times, that's 10 times that maybe you didn't try it at all in a practice. So the idea is that you've got to try and you've got to fail. When you fail, you'll learn. Learn from your mistakes. How did they counter me? Right? What do I got to do so I don't get countered next time? The only way you can get better is by trying and giving it a shot. And over the course of time, that's how we evolve, that's how we develop. Okay, so I'd suggest that you attack as much as possible. There's no such thing as nobody wins in practice. There's no winners, there's no losers, there's no medals. It ultimately comes down to the person that tries the most and gives it the best they can. Okay, we have another second. Favorite technique to set up opponent for newaza? For us older grapplers. Okay, well, guess it depends. I mean, the ultimate goal, if you're really trying to get to newaza, the ultimate goal is to knock the person down, right? When I was a competitor, it was a lot easier because you could actually grab the legs and you could tackle them and get them to the ground. But ultimately, if your goal is to get somebody to the ground, then what I would recommend is not going out there and getting a traditional two-handed grip in order to attempt to knock down. What you want to do is you want to be able to attack off the grip to knock somebody down, right? So the quicker we can get them to the ground, the better. And the more unorthodox we can make the technique, also the better. Because if you're going against a traditional judo player, his goal is to put two hands in your gi, and once somebody sets their hands, if they're better than you, it's really hard to break down that defense. So as one example would be, as the person comes and reaches for my lapel, I would take that sleeve and I would rip it by, and I would look for some sort of like ko-uchigari or perhaps an o-uchigari. And again, the goal is just to get them to the ground. So what I like is the 2-on-1 cross grip. Person comes out for a traditional grip, you pick it off with two hands, you pull the sleeve by, you grab their back, you hit ko-uchigari, you run them over, and then we're right into our groundwork. So that would be one option. If you're actually in jiu-jitsu or you're in another combat sport, we can actually grab the leg. My go-to was an Ochigari, and I knocked them down if I wanted to be in the guard position, or if I wanted my opponent to turn to his stomach, then the Ochigari cross grip was a great way to do it as well. So that was my go-to in my day. Got another one for me? What does it say? How do you develop your two-on-one Ochi? Okay, I've got a whole encyclopedia of Ochigari. We don't have enough time today to cover it, but the two-on-one Ochigari, I want to break it down into basic steps. The number one thing when you're doing Ochigari, or cross grip Ochigari, is that we don't pull this arm towards us. See, if I pull this arm towards me on a cross grip, then it prevents me from getting into my opponent, right? So I don't want to pull this arm into me. What I want to do is pull it straight across. When I pull that straight across, now you can see there's nothing stopping me from entering, right? If I pull it to me, I'm stopping myself. So the first thing is to take the sleeve and pull it straight by. In fact, I take it straight by and I put it on the belt of my opponent. That's step one. The second part, which is key, is that we step in the middle, that my driving leg is in the middle and it's square. So I want to be right in the center of his legs when I attack Ochigari. Okay, so that's number two. Boom, boom. Then I'm going to drop to my knee. I'm going to swivel my head to the outside. I'm going to push off my back foot and keep driving. And then I take him down. Okay, so we call it squaring off. The most important thing with Ochigari is attacking from a square stance. Meaning that if this foot is now forward, I can't do that same step because I'm not in the middle of his legs. I'm not going to get the right angle. So to get the right angle, I have to step here first. And that gets me to the middle of his legs, and I have a good point of attack. So that's the key, simple key to a cross grip Ochigari. Pull the arm by, step to the center, and then drive through your opponent to finish. Okay? What's that one say? Go in technique or techniques. My go-to technique. Okay. Go-to technique, left on left. So, great question. So, if we go back to the initial concept of this morning, of the beginning of the session, right, where I have to throw in all four directions, the techniques actually do change somewhat if you change stances, right? My throws against lefties might be different than my throws against righties. And that's also the next step in this whole thing, is to think about your attacks versus same-sided and opposite-sided people. But for now, my go-to techniques against lefties, number one, it was always killing the sleeve and controlling the sleeve, because I'm a lefty. Okay, so I never want a left-sided player to have his left hand on my gi. That's step one. That makes judo a lot easier. Okay, so I want to kill the sleeve first. My go-to in this direction against lefties was my one-handed taotoshi. Okay, so that was, if my partner had taken my sleeve when I had his sleeve, it was ripping out, and then it was coming across on one-handed taotoshi, left on left. That was my go-to in this direction here. Okay, so again, it's rip the sleeve out, start my kazushi, come across, and do my one-handed tao. Going this direction against lefties. Once I put that hand on the gi, it was sode. And basically the key to sode is getting that elbow in the air. I'd step here first, inside, pivot through, and then I'm up into my sode. That was my go-to in this direction. My favorite throw against lefties was either a standing sode, a one-handed tile, and then I would also hit, which is also a very important concept that you guys should start thinking about, is the ability to throw off the grip. Okay, it's one thing to be able to do all your throws when you have two hands on the gi, but in reality, in a judo situation, the most opportune time to score is off the grip. So the ability to kill someone's sleeve, to rip that hand away, and then from here I would do Ochigari, where I would back step into position and do an Ochigari off the grip. So against left-sided players, it was one-handed tile, it was Sode, and it was Ochi off the grip. Okay? What would I recommend as a gripping strategy for a taller, deep overhand player? Okay, perfect. Actually, I'm going to call Ryan out for this one. They don't get much taller than this guy. All right, so this is my student Ryan. He's a tall righty. I'm a lefty. Okay, so gripping comes down to strategy and angles and the ability to control shoulders. Okay, so Ryan's a very tall opponent. Okay, and if I turn extreme, I'm a lefty, he's a righty. If I turn extreme to Ryan, okay, number one, it's a lot easier for him to reach my back. He can reach my shoulder very easily, right? Watch what happens when I adjust my stance. If I adjust my stance, it's harder for him to reach. You can see this is closer and this is further away. So step one is you're playing a taller opponent. You don't have to change your stance, but you have to change your shoulder position. I don't want to be extreme. I want to be straight on. That's step one. Number two, when I come out to play against a tall opponent, it's very important that I set this hand and I set this hand high. Okay, so when I come out and I grab the lapel, I'm not going to grab just chest high. Okay, because this doesn't give me enough leverage to, I want to protect and I want to control this shoulder up here. Okay, so from here, if you're looking at it from this angle, when I grab low, Ryan's arm comes high and he can pull me in pretty tight. And I don't have a lot of strength from a low lapel grip. As soon as I creep this up a little bit higher, I'm now controlling Ryan's shoulder. Okay, so when I grab, I stand with the more square stance. I grab the shoulder higher, and this gives me a lot of strength because I'm using all of my chest muscles in this situation. When I turn my shoulder, I'm not very strong. It's hard to push away. So I want to get this hand high, and what I like to do is I actually put my wrist right on his chest. So now when he grabs my neck and he tries to pull me in, no matter how hard he pulls, this arm's not going to break. I can just rest here comfortably and I can keep this space against a tall opponent, right? And it's very important if you want to do judo and you're a pure judoka, you've got to be able to keep the space. As soon as that arm gets crunched, now I'm in trouble, right? I can't do much. So in order to prevent somebody from collapsing that arm, when we come out, we stand more square. When I punch that hand in, it's not just getting the collar, it's taking and setting that hand nice and high. Can you see where that's set? I want to set it nice and high like that. Now, even if he comes high, I'm comfortable. And then I never go for the sleeve hand until I've set this hand, right? Another big mistake is that people grab like this and then they're excited to get that hand comes high. Well, you didn't set this hand properly, it's too low. Don't give up your sleeve until you've set your other hand. Now, once you've set that, he grabs. Now I can look for a sleeve, and now I can keep my space relatively easily because I didn't expose my back. So that's sort of a simple concept when you're talking about playing against deep overhand players, okay? Travis, I got a bunch of more comments here, but I got a hello from Barcelona.
This one's good.
What's it say?
Strategy to nullify a faster opponent who's consistent in attacking.
Strategy to neutralize a faster opponent who is constantly attacking. Okay. First of all, you have to understand what hand this person needs on the gi to execute his attacks. That's number one. Number one, you got to understand what he's trying to do to you. So, again, a lot of this does come down to gripping, okay, grip strategy. But for example, let's say Tyler was a Seoi-nage player. All right, and he came out and he grabbed my lapel and he jumped in Seoi-nage right away. Okay, the first thing I would do, since I know he's a righty and he does Seoi-nage, if I wanted to stop him from attacking, I've got to be able to change up my pace. I can't keep doing the same thing if I'm getting beat to the attacks. That's number one. So what I would do, like I told you before, if he needs this hand on the gi to do all of his judo, we take away the hand that they need. So, in other words, that hand never touches my gi now. Okay, because he needs this to do a seoi. I don't let him have that hand anymore. When he comes out to fight, it's either catch it right away. Now I can impose my will because I can put my hand on his gi first. Okay? Or, like I said, I take that hand and I pull that sleeve by and I get an attack off so I can get him to the ground. Okay, but we never, if we're getting beat to the attacks, we never just keep doing the same gripping sequence. We have to change it up and we have to make it difficult for him to do his judo. So that's how you would beat somebody that sort of attacks all the time against you. You're giving him his favorite grip, and you're behind him in the sequence, and he's able to execute his judo. Well, you've got to beat him in the sequence. You've got to grab first, and then you've got to take his favorite hand away, and then now start to get into your judo. Travis was really good at that, of taking away his opponent's strong hand. Okay, and the other thing is, if you've got somebody that's dropping on you all the time, you've got to make them pay when they hit the ground. You know what I mean? You've got to, when he hits that first seoi-nage, you've got to threaten him on the ground so much, or almost get him. You know? So, the next time he's less hesitant to drop in front of you. But if you let him drop, and you don't attack the newaza, then he's just going to keep attacking you, and you're going to get rung up on penalties. So you've got to make him pay the price when he hits the ground, and you've got to attack on the ground so he's afraid to make that next attack. That was very good strategy for me over the years. Okay? Can't really see. I saw your grip like a world champion 2.0. Can you tell us how you teach grip fighting in kids aged 10 to 12, 12 to 14? How do you introduce them with your gripping system? Okay, so with younger kids, it's vitally important that, number one, that they learn how to throw, right? Judo is about scoring, it is about throwing. So what I would recommend is, having two hands on the gi and learning how to do whatever throws they're going to do with two hands on the gi, right? We want to do stand-up judo and teach our students how to throw first. But if you've got a very advanced 12-year-old, 13-year-old, right, what I would introduce to them is the basics of gripping. They don't have to know the entire gripping system, because with little kids, it's difficult to control that other person as much. They don't have the strength in their hands. They don't have the strength in their bodies to truly control the other person. But there are basics they need to understand. They need to understand which hand to reach with first. If I'm a lefty and Tyler is a lefty, I want to make sure it's simple to teach a 12 or 13-year-old to steal the sleeve first. That's a simple concept. Or when the person comes out to reach for your gi, don't let them have the gi, right? So what I teach my 12 and 13, 14-year-old kids is we teach them how to grip, but it's the basic concepts. Don't give the other person's power hand away, meaning don't let them have that gi. Come out, either steal the sleeve or take the power hand away. Now, get to your attacks, okay? Same thing when we play left on right. I don't teach them all of the different nuances here, but it is important that they understand when he reaches, we always take the inside control. They have to understand that inside is better than outside. Okay, so we want to make sure, like, we introduce those basic concepts, okay, to our kids at 12 and 13, with the focus on the ability to score and throw in judo first, then understanding, inside grip, and being able to attack from an inside grip, because obviously from an outside grip, you can't attack. So those are the types of concepts that we start to teach. Not the entire gripping system with all the details, but the basics. Take away the power hand, get your hand on the gi, score. Okay? Which one are we talking? Why don't we give just one more question here, Travis, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. Or unless you want me to go all day, I can do that too. On a right versus left, how should the right hand first engage, reach with his right hand to opponent's left lead hand? Right versus left?
Yeah, like I come out, I steal the sleeve. You reach with your right or your left. So like how does a righty engage a lefty?
Well, a righty would engage a lefty. When we're coming out to fight right versus left, unless you're going to attack off the grip, like all of this stuff goes out the window. If you want to attack off the grip and just grab and rush into an attack, you can grab anywhere. Like if you want to come out and steal a sleeve and blast in, no problem. But if you're trying to set your hands on the gi and get two hands on the gi, then lefty versus righty, my first grip, I'm a lefty, was always inside to the lapel because I want an inside grip against a right-sided judo player. So my first grip was I wait for him to reach, I would slowly come to the inside, take control, set the hand, and then look to play. Okay, so that's left versus right. There's lots of other strategies you can do, but to put two hands on the gi of your opponent, that's one of the options. Okay? But the idea between opposite-sided people is really controlling this space. So if Tyler beats me to the inside, okay, he has a better grip than I do right now because he can do all of his attacks, right? And I can't really turn my back and do much judo from this position. Okay, so when we get beat to the inside, the goal is either to come back inside and regain position, or it's to break this arm down and don't give him any space to operate. So you've got two things you've got to do. You've got to win the inside space, or you've got to control this space and break that arm down so he doesn't have any room to do his judo. Those are your two objectives when you're fighting left versus right or opposite-sided people. Okay? I don't know, like the bottom one?
Yeah. White belt.
What did it say?
What should a white belt focus on for throws and what throws should they put off until those?
Okay, great question. So what should a white belt focus on and what throws should they do? First throw or first type of throw a white belt should learn is the throw where they actually turn their back to their opponent, pick them up off the ground, and throw. So maybe if you're a shorter player, shorter person, that might just be an ogoshi. Learning to off balance, learning to commit with your hips, right? And pick your opponent up with your hips, and learning to finish a throw. But I want you, because the biggest fear that people have is turning their back to their opponent. So if you can do ogoshi, that's one of the first things you should learn. If you're maybe a taller person, then that throw might be, a koshi garuma type thing. But make sure we pay attention to the basics. Don't focus on gripping, focus on throwing. And learning the mechanics of throwing. And not jumping into Randori when you're a white belt. I want you to really understand the movements of judo. Meaning, learn how to throw walking backwards. Learn how to throw walking forward. Learn how to throw walking sideways. And do lots of drills that teach you the proper footwork, teach you the proper mechanics of being a successful judo player. And it starts with learning the basic throws. So ogoshi, koshi garuma, ochigari is a fairly basic technique. Osotogari, okay? Ippon seonage. Those types of throws, learn those first. Don't do taio toshi, don't do uchimata, don't do the complicated stuff. Just focus on the basics and learning the throwing of mechanics. And don't get pushed into doing Randori when you're not ready. You don't need it. I have a lot of adult students at my dojo. We have a big adult program, and a lot of what we focus on are the movements of judo. We're just doing lots of uchikomis, lots of moving uchikomis, lots of combination techniques, throws on crash pads, things that are very safe, very fun. We get a great workout, okay, but we're not pushing to do Randori because we don't need it. Well, it's likely to get injured when we do that, right? Just focus on doing judo, having fun, getting fit. That's the key. Okay? All right, I'm going to turn it over to Travis and give him some time with you guys. I hope you enjoyed the session. We're going to be back here every other week. So every 2 weeks, we're going to be doing a session, a live session. Feel free to hit us up with comments. Let us know what it is you'd like to learn, and we'll continue to deliver the content that you want. Over to you, buddy. Cheers.
All right. What's up, everybody? It's good to be back.
teaching online. Oh, Tyler, can you move the thing off the comment section so I can see it? I can read from this far. You got to scroll it down to the bottom so that it goes down. 2 fingers, other way. There we go, and then move it off. Perfect. Okay, so that was a great concept from Jimmy where we're talking about going over the different 4 corners. What we're gonna go over is using cross grips to our advantageous. We're gonna set up our throws, we're gonna break grips, and we're gonna learn to control our partner using the power of a cross grip. I feel like it's very underutilized in the sport of judo, and it's because of the fear that people have of getting a Shido. But when you train your body and your mind to have that mental clock in your head of like 1,000, 2, 1,000, let it go. It's actually a very long time for you to set more powerful grips that can't be broken, right? So the first one that we want to go over is just cross gripping our opponent's sleeve, because in a same-sided scenario, we have to control our partner's sleeve because it keeps us protected. Like Jimmy said earlier, it was one of my strengths. I never want to let my partner's power hand grab my gi on my chest, across my body, anywhere, right? I want to make sure that this is 100% mine the entire time. So scoot this way for me. So when we're in this position, right, I control it. I don't even care where this hand goes, right? It's completely off my radar. It doesn't even matter, okay? Because if I can 2-on-1 this hand, even if he gets a post or he grabs my sleeve, it's okay. Because I'm holding his hand with both of mine, right? When I'm in this position, I'm really gonna be able to take advantage and work my left hand into this gi so well that taking this off becomes child's play. And now that I have my hand actually set, it's gonna be almost impossible for him to break that without overcommitting in the back direction to break it, in which case we can actually counter and look for our throws to the rear because he's so open to it, right? Tyler, can you scroll that again? Okay, so when we're in this position, what we wanna work on just right on right is moving and catching the sleeve. In a same-sided scenario where I'm a righty and Ryan's a righty, I wanna be moving to my left, okay? So if I face Ryan to the camera here, I wanna shuffle to my left. You stay there? I wanna shuffle. So I'm coming off to the side, and as I do that, I'm gonna take my opposite hand and I'm gonna C-grip Ryan's wrist from the outside in. So when we're in this position, all I'm gonna do is circle, and I'm gonna C-grip his hand. And when I do that, I don't just grab it to grab it. I actually get a reaction from Ryan where I move him off his base, right? Boom, and I pull him, and I keep my right foot in my good stance, facing towards him. I get my head involved, and now I'm looking at what I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to get my left hand to secure it. So when he's in this position, when we move, if we count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, and I let it go, it's okay, because once I let it go and I show the ref, what I can do is I can reset it and I can re-get that grip. I can come back and I can reset that grip. And I think it's a concept that's not really thrown out to competitive judo players or young judo players, that they try to hold on to grips that they know are weak, right? Rather than taking the time to actually set it. So if I were to come out and steal Ryan's sleeve and he tried to break it, and I can feel like my grip is slipping a little bit, I'll take the time to cross grip his wrist, fix my sleeve grip, and then let him try to break that again and then have control. And if I ever feel like I'm losing it again, I come back, I reset it, and I bring it back into play until I can get my right hand on the gi, because I understand how important this arm is to a right-handed player and not letting it onto my gi. So keeping that right foot forward, using my back leg to move first, 2 hands on his one, we're moving. Even if he gets my sleeve, it's okay, because as I'm rolling this around, I can break it, always moving to my left. You can try to break that. If I feel like I'm losing it, I bring it right back down. Same concept too is I always have to make sure, even though I have it, sometimes that doesn't mean I'm winning, right? Because if Ryan keeps his hand up and across his body, I may be holding on to it, but I still can't do any offense, right? So it's technically a useless grip. I may be holding it, but then I've lost it. So what I have to do is I have to use my cross grip to, again, move him and bring his hand back down into a position where I can control it and keep it down all the time. So when I'm up, I bring it down, and that exposes the neck for my right hand, and I can get close. I can pull his head in, and I can lean down onto this hand, so when he's trying to lift it, I have the structure of my body here to prevent it from coming up too high. If I move back too much, he'll end up raising that hand. So bring it down, put that high hand on, and now I can keep that in control, and I can start moving my partner and setting up all of my judo in order to score with a very, very simple grip. Even if I come out, take it. Again, he starts to break it. 2-on-1 control. Set that grip nice and strong. He's moving it again. Pull him. There, his head came down. We keep it down with the right. And now I'm leaning down onto this hand. I'm still on balance. Remember, never being off balance. I don't want my partner to have that ability to really drop underneath and catch me with a fireman's or a drop sail. I want to make sure my weight is centered on my body. Right foot forward, always in good position. Okay? So that's a very simple way that we can use a cross grip to move our opponent off balance, disrupt our opponent in the gripping sequence, and be able to control our partner's lead hand. Doing 3 things all the time that can make us look active while we're competing or in the Randori session, right? You never just want to stay there and be stagnant, because players are intelligent and they're really going to start to be able to figure you out. Another way we can do this is we can just create motion and power, okay? So a cross grip right on right, and one of the strongest ones, actually happens on the collar, okay? And we use this a lot because when we're trying to get that sleeve, our partners will do a good job of hiding it and making sure we can't get it. But it's important to stay mentally strong and know that even though I can't get that sleeve, I don't want to just come out and put my right hand on this side of the gi, because that hand is coming, right? He's coming. I'm going to be in trouble. I'm not going to be able to stop a strong player of throwing all of his body weight, all of his strength with that hand coming down my neck with one arm. It's just not going to happen. So I don't want to put myself in that scenario where that could happen. So again, if he's protecting, right, and if I try to grab that collar and he blocks it and he just keeps protecting and he can play this defense, what I want to do is I want to disrupt the pattern, and a cross grip does that, because as he feels like, oh, I can't get it, we can step up, and now I have a good strong cross grip. And if you notice, when I took it, I got a reaction from Ryan. I knocked him off his base with it, right? I didn't just come out and just lightly grab it. I stepped into it, and I started creating that pressure so that when he pushes back into me, I can snap him behind me, and now I have 2 hands on one side where all my seanagis can come into play, my cheese, okay? I can even come cross grip osoto, okay, for those more competitive people. But again, when we're in here, it's not done lightly, and it's not done just because. You have to do the groundwork as an athlete, where you come out and you actively search for the sleeve. You actively search for the post, right? You're actively looking at it. You're conditioning your opponent to only pay attention to your left hand so that you can come out and you can steal that cross grip. The sleeve is available, we take the sleeve. I let go, and maybe his hand is too high, right? So now we go from cross gripping the collar, I steal it, I let go to avoid the shido, and I move, but his hand is high, right? Well, now I come back. Before I try to lunge through this and get blocked and then get my sleeve taken, I move his hand, bring his shoulder down, and now I'm in good position, right? I've used the cross grip to move my partner, created off balance, got to the sleeve with my left hand, and then reestablished position by getting the hand down, getting my body weight on it, and being able to establish a power grip. All with just understanding the mechanics and how to set the groundwork with the gripping strategies, right? So the other thing we want to pay attention to while we're talking about cross gripping is making sure we're using the arm the way we should be. When we're in this position, right, turn this way a little bit. I don't want to just take a cross grip and leave my hand down here. The way I would like to set a cross grip is I'd like to get it where I can use my whole forearm all the way across my partner's chest. So when I'm walking him down, he can't actually get to me, okay? When we're in this position, I don't want to stiff arm him because he can turn on it. I want to be able to not let him break that down and keep this hand in my eyesight, right? That's what I'm hunting. That's what I'm trying to get, right? As I, boom, I'm looking at it. If he keeps it too far back, I know he's leaning forward, so we move him off that point, and it brings that hand forward so that I can steal it, okay? And the other thing that Jimmy had brought up earlier that is super important that you want to understand when we're talking about all these little systems is you have to be able to attack off the grip. And a cross grip is wonderful for that because you can just blast your opponent with just about anything. Most of my two-handed throws can be done from that cross grip position because I can either go double collar for all my seonagis, right? All my ochis, kochis, all my osotos, where I can just turn my shoulders and I can get good control of the torso. Or I can get to that sleeve and I can still do my taios, my seo standing, all my split hip versions, right? If my partner's doing a good job of keeping that hand up, we can even grab and go sode back the other way. Wasn't my specialty. I don't like throwing that way, but it is possible to do, but definitely not my strength, okay? But it is a possibility. You wanna make sure you have all those avenues open because you have to have disruptors in your judo. Things that you can do that get out of the norm because your partners are intelligent. If you come out and you just keep stealing that sleeve, it's not gonna take him very long to 2-on-1 it, pull it by, and then be all the way down your back, and then you run into trouble. So every couple of exchanges, if you throw a cross grip in there and some motion, and then get the sleeve, it can be game changing for just about anybody.
Oh, perfect one for you, Travis.
Oh, there we go.
How do you approach players who like to do something?
Man, I developed split the legs. For all those like Tomonagi, Sumi players, you have to punish them. You have to. You can't just let them take those shots, okay? So while you're in here, one of the things we used to do a lot was we used to drill our transitions. And what used to happen is he used to just do a Tomonagi, boom, and he used to hit the ground. And what I used to do is skip to the side and then break the grips. We would dive in and we would start splitting the legs, which you could see that I did a lot in 2016 Olympics all the way up through that run, was just split the legs. It's actually how I won my quarterfinal match. Because when he's in this position and he's dropping to the ground, right? Boom, you catch him, you put that knee down so that now I can grab the legs so that the refs know we're on the floor. You don't want to grab it too soon. And then we jump in to split the legs, right? Same thing, I used to do the same thing with Sumi. When guys used to try to come down my back, lefty, righties don't come down my back, lefty there. And he used to step in and try to do Sumi, right? You would block and then you would jump right into that split the legs just to punish him. And it turned into an attack for me that was almost instantaneously ippon. No matter who it was in the world, if they did that throw, I was pinning them, right? Because I drilled it in there, right? I remember I was at the Tokyo Grand Slam one year and I was fighting a Russian and he was kicking the crap out of me. I think I was down by a Wazari and a couple of Shidos, and without fail, I knew if I could just push him, because what happens with judo players is they don't think necessarily when they train, and they start to do things, and you notice that judo players fight the last 30 seconds differently than they fight the first 30 seconds. So in the last 30 seconds, I was pushing him towards the edge, and he bailed with the Sumi, split the legs, ippon, match over. He doesn't do that Sumi, I lose the match. 100%, I was losing it. But because I had drilled that transition into my core, then I could pull it off without fail to anybody. Oh, favorite counters against somebody who likes strong cross grips. In a same-sided scenario, mine was a standing seo. So what I used to do, if we go to this side, if Ryan ever cross gripped me, what I used to do is I used to throw my hand inside his biceps. You notice that I can't quite get to his gi, and then I used to feed that really quick, because now I can grab my own gi and I can punch him and I can open it up. And when I do that, my elbow could go to work, and this is his off balance point. So when I snap him to his forward, he would face me, and now with one step, I can enter into my split hip saya with my left foot. So when we're here, when he cross grips, this grip right here shuts down his ability to turn that way because I'm below his shoulder. So I turn my shoulders to break that grip, move him to that open spot, one step all the way through, hands nice and high, so I can elevate and throw my partner, right? Lefties was a little bit more complicated because I developed the throw. Big Jim actually told me to work on when we were in Europe one time because I had the transition into my core where I could pin and threaten anybody. So what used to happen, go lefty. Actually, Tyler, can I borrow you? No belt, let's go. Don't have time. He thought he was done for the day, but he's an actual lefty. So when he pulls my hand by 2-on-1 and he comes down my back, what I used to do was I used to just kind of grab his gi and then break it. So I make him feel, I grab his hand, I break that grip, and I go right around his waist, and my foot would shoot through, and it wasn't even a matter like, don't even fall down, don't take the fall. When I go here, boom, I would fall, and I would try to bridge. And as he's posting with this hand, I would drive to that corner because I have this post, boom. And I could come up, and he would play defense. They would never give him that score, and I could start tilting and throwing my partners. And sometimes I would throw them so hard that they would belly down over that side. So when he pulls it past, I take this grip, I break it, I come through, and then I would throw this foot through, boom, and I would throw him over the top, and I would start working on top of my partner and punishing him so that when we come out again, he doesn't want to just pull that past because I'm just going to keep taking it from him. Now I'm up 2 attacks to his 0. So now when he comes out again, does he really want to pull it past? Remember what Jimmy said, you've got to punish people, right? Especially on the ground. Now he's not going to risk coming out and cross gripping that knowing that I'm going to go again, right? So it really helped me to get out of trouble because I wasn't necessarily trying to score with it, although I did. I did throw a lot of people for wazaris and even pones with that particular throw, but I pinned people more often than not with it. What's my favorite throw if I need to score? Ooh, that really depends on the player. That really depends on the player. But if I absolutely, without a doubt have to score, I'm looking for Seyanagi. Can I borrow you, Tyler? So against a lefty, my big thing was peeling that hand. I was super good at catching my partner's lead sleeve, putting it down, posting, walking my partner down, getting close. The closer I can get to him, the better, because I know he can't turn into any of his throws. So I used to stand like this, get really close, and then I'd get on my tippy toes, and I'd try to get my head on top of his so that I could use gravity to bring him down. Now you'll notice that I'm pretty much straight, but he's bent. Now I can throw my hip through, come in, and I would blast him with my hips. I go big or go home, right? Most of the time I went big and I was able to score. So for lefties, right, when I'm in this position, I would push him, I would get nice and tall, and I would bring him down, holding him close. Boom, foot goes in, hips go in, and we pick him up. If I'm using a righty, Ryan, can I borrow you? If I'm using a right hand, right, against a righty, and I absolutely have to score, I'm using that cross grip, okay? Because as I do that, and I have to score, I'm gonna make sure my hands move super, super fast. So when I come through, boom, I get a push, I snap, pull, and right here, I'm already in, pick him up, come over the top. And depending on the reaction I get from that snap, I have so many instantaneous options from there that I'll throw anything. Because sometimes once I snap, post, if he turns his shoulders and stands here, I can come through, get my hips through, and then finish, right? So there are a lot of different things that I can do from that one position in order to get that score. And I like the cross grip, snapping and posting, pausing, split second, give it that 1 second count. It's always worth the wait. See what his reaction is, go the other way, depending on where he's leaning, where he's falling. So many options. Oh, that's a serious question. How to cope with a Russian style grip. Okay, so I have two ways of dealing with this grip. And my first response that has nothing to do with these two ways is don't get there. Control the sleeve. When he throws that hand down the back, you're in some serious trouble, right? You screwed up a long time ago because you gave him one grip, you missed the power hand, and he got down your back. So you've screwed up so many different ways that it's a problem. But you still need an answer for while you're here, right? So what I used to do is I used to grab the belt to try to push his hips away. And then as Ryan, push your hips into me. There, as he's trying to bring those hips in, I would look for my Ochi to try to knock him back and score. And 90% of the time, I would miss. But what would happen is he would back up a little bit. Boom, and he would start back up right here. When he's open, I would sit and I would go sumi. And I would throw him straight over the top. And most of the time, they don't take falls like that. They actually just belly out over the top. But again, because he has to play defense, it avoids the Shido, and I get to burn him on the ground, right? Because when he goes belly down, when I'm in this position, because I have this belt, when I slide in and he sits, sit heavy. Nope, stand up a little bit, just sit heavy there. And I'm pulling him. He can't stop me from yanking him over the top and then coming out. And then I take that grip he had, and now it's 100% useless because I'm actually gonna stick him here. I'm gonna try to pin him, I'm gonna try to choke him. I'm not just gonna knock him down to the ground and not use it. So that's how I would deal with that grip. But we're right at that hour mark, guys. So that's what we kind of allotted for today. Just wanna let you guys know, I see some of you guys in chat wondering how you can get those 5 free judo lessons. All you have to do is go to usajudo.com and then sign up for your free account. You can go away.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you guys. And again, usajudo.com is a new platform that Jimmy and I have started where we're breaking down judo, coming out with instructionals, and it's gonna be a monthly membership service where you guys are gonna have access to all of the content on the website. Plus, we're gonna be doing bi-weekly phone calls just like this, where you guys get to interact with us, ask questions, we'll give answers, and we'll also come out with topics bi-weekly to actually film specifically for members. You got anything else you want to add?
Nope. Thank you guys for joining us. You guys had some great questions. We apologize we couldn't answer everybody's question. There's a whole bunch of them that came up. I guess we had almost 500 people join us today for training. We're going to be here every 2 weeks to help you guys get better, to share the knowledge that we've accumulated over the years, and to help the judo community. So we look forward to working with you in the future. We hope you join our program, and we wish you the best of luck.
Good luck, everybody.
Thank you.
Until next time.